President invites world leaders to join the fight to minimize use of tobacco. Disabled war veterans to receive pensions on presidential order. Water levels of Nilvala and Gim rivers rise. Earthslip buries a house in Imaduwa. A death shrouded in mystery. Woman from Muskelia dies at a detention camp in Saudi Arabia. Race to the White House nears completion.
Good evening and welcome to Primetime News. I'm Sandhu Ferdinando.
And I'm Aishwarya Pinto. Let's start off with a look at your stories in detail. President Maithripala Sirisena urged the world community to resist the attempts of the tobacco industry to undermine tobacco control through litigation and interference in government policy making. He expressed these views during the 7th session of the Conference of Parties to the WHO Framework Convention on Tobacco Control, or the FCTC, held in Noida, India.
Signifying President Sirisena's efforts in minimizing the use of tobacco in the country, the World Health Organization extended an invitation to the President to participate at the Framework Convention on Tobacco Control in India as a keynote speaker. Thereby, President Sirisena addressed the convention, which saw the participation of 1,800 representatives of 186 signatory countries.
I have set up a presidential task force to monitor the situation with regard to drugs and narcotics. In fact, I hold a monthly review meeting where all relevant sectors meet to assess the progress and make multi-sectoral policies and plans. In line with the recommendations of the FCTC, we have also reviewed the tobacco taxation policies, and just a month ago we have been able to increase tobacco taxes by nearly 10% again. My Minister of Health, Dr. Rajitha, is proposing to introduce plain packaging as another important measure in the near future, and here we thank the FCTs for the excellent technical support. We are drawing freely from the lessons and experiences of some of the countries that have already introduced plain packaging. Sri Lanka has benefited immensely by the information and evidence that you have generated over these years in framing our policies and regulations for tobacco control.
Welcome back to the news. Now, disaster situations are being reported from several areas of the country due to the inclement weather.
The southern province suffered the brunt of the adverse weather conditions. A mound of earth collapsed onto a house in Kabaragala owing to the rainy weather conditions experienced yesterday.
We were cautious knowing that there was a landslide in this area 2 years ago. We discovered a spring on the other side. With time, spring expanded and we observed it using a video camera. This is when the mound of earth collapsed. We were forced to shift to this location. Later, a second mound collapsed, burying the entire house.
5 more houses in the Imaduwa area were damaged due to earth slips. Vehicular movement was hampered owing to earth slips in a number of areas along the Imaduwa-Akurasa road. A 3-story building located along the Colombo Kandy Main Road in Vidyavatta, Yakkala, collapsed at dawn today. A shop on the first floor of the building was only declared open yesterday. The adverse weather conditions have also prompted the increase of the water levels of the Ginganga. A risk of flooding will occur in the event the water level passes the 4.5 meter mark at the Badegama water meter of the Ginganga. As at 7 a.m. today, the water levels were at 4.2 meters. Our correspondent added that a number of low-lying areas along the Ginganga, including Inimankada and Mulkada, were inundated as a result. The water levels of the Nilwala river increased rapidly due to the inclement weather conditions. One of the largest crocodiles that calls the Nilwala river its home entered the Veradua area yesterday with the increase in the water levels. Our correspondent said that the crocodile was seen in the Veradua area around 10 p.m. last night. Wildlife officers and the police attempted to catch the animal after reports were filed by area residents. After a lengthy operation, the animal was captured and later released into the Nilwala river.
Meanwhile, Disaster Management Minister Andra Priyadashna Yapa revealed today that the economic damage from landslides in 2016 has been estimated at 10.4 billion rupees.
In the recent past, the severity of landslides has increased in the central highlands. As we speak, in 2010, the economic damage was 5,500 billion Sri Lankan rupees. In 2011, it was 77,000 million Sri Lankan rupees. And this year, it is calculated around 104,000 million of rupees. It clearly shows how these calamities are in the growth of making significant damages to the national economy.
A conference titled Why Investing in Disaster Risk Reduction Matters for Business, organized by Asia Pacific Alliance for Disaster Management Sri Lanka, caught underway in Colombo today. The event saw the participation of the Minister of Disaster Management, Andra Priyadashna Yapa, the Japanese Ambassador to Sri Lanka, Kenichi Suganuma, and several other dignitaries.
Yesterday, we reported on how wild elephants could be seen in the Hambantota city limits. Today, we focus on the Seruavila area in the eastern province.
Locals in Sumedankarapura, Seruvavila in Kantare live each day fearing for their lives, not knowing when a wild elephant could attack them. Wild elephant threats have been increasing for the past 2 years. 200 families whose main lifeline is agriculture live in Sumedankarapura. During the past few days alone, 5 houses have been destroyed by wild elephants.
My child is on the other side and we live next door. That incident really brought a great deal of sadness. We took a swift decision to leave.
We can't cultivate, neither can we have a coconut tree nor a banana tree, because everything is destroyed. It is saddening to see our houses. Close to 10 to 12 houses have already been damaged. The locals have made preparations to cultivate in the upcoming season. They are uncertain if they will be able to save their cultivation from wild elephants. Residents say that the broken electric fence in the area is the main cause for this issue. Information has come to light that Sri Lankan woman who is being detained at the Oleya camp in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, has died in suspicious circumstances.
About 80 Sri Lankans who had experienced problems while working in Saudi Arabia are currently being detained in the Oleya camp in Riyadh. 39-year-old Paliniyandi Katpagambali, who was being detained at exit camp number 6 in Oleya, had passed away on the 31st of October. The mother of 3 hailed from Sammalay in Muskelia, Hatton. She had left for Saudi Arabia in October last year after receiving employment through a foreign employment agency in Colombo.
During her first days there, she would call every day and let us know that everything was fine. Later she said that there was trouble and asked to be transferred to a different household. On the 26th, she called us and told us that she had been chased and beaten by people at the camp. She said they would heat iron rods and place them on her skin. She has fled from there and was hiding at a house. The people at the house had returned her to the camp.
When contacted by Newsfirst, Sri Lanka's ambassador to Saudi Arabia, Azmi Thasim, noted that an investigation had been launched into the woman's death.
On the part of the embassy, we have embarked on the necessary steps. If suspicious circumstances are involved, then the post-mortem examination and other such things have already commenced.
Meanwhile, the family of the deceased are seeking the assistance of the authorities to expedite the repatriation of her remains.
Every time my mother called, she would tell me to study hard and rise to a better place.
Minister of Finance Ravi Karunanayake calls on the former Minister of Finance Ronnie Dimel ahead of the 2017 budget reading.
Ronnie Dimel goes down in history as the first finance minister to have presented 11 budget readings under the presidency of Jaya Jayawardena.
We discussed about the issues faced when formulating the budget proposal and the issues that may crop up afterward. We did not speak about the contents of the budget proposal because, as you all know, the proposal itself is a confidential document. We spoke about the normal things like the country's current financial status and the problems surrounding it. We strive to work for the people. This is what we are attempting to reflect through the budget. And that is exactly what former Minister of Finance Ronnie Dimel spoke about. I gave my undivided attention to it. I know there are burning issues. I was advised as to how solutions can be sought to resolve these issues.
Continuing in more local news, Perpetual Treasuries, the company at the center of the central bank bond controversy, is in the process of purchasing shares in listed companies via the stock exchange. The Sunday Times newspaper reported yesterday that Perpetual Treasuries is purchasing shares in listed companies directly and indirectly through other connected companies. Reports indicate the company is showing a preference for purchasing shares in banks and non-bank financial institutions. As Newsfirst revealed last week, a 7% stake in NDB Bank had been purchased by Perpetual Treasuries and Perpetual Equities. Market data also indicates an increase in the number of shares of Central Finance owned by Perpetual Treasury. As per the list of primary shareholders released by Central Finance on the 30th of June, Perpetual Equities was listed 7th with 2.308 million shares. However, by the end of the third quarter on the 1st of October, the stake had increased to 4.77 million shares. This shows that in the third quarter, Perpetual Equities had purchased more than 2.4 million shares of Central Finance. The connection between Perpetual Treasuries and Perpetual Equities is evident when examining the business addresses of both companies. The list of shareholders of NDB Bank displays the address of Perpetual Equities as 3rd floor, Prince Alfred Tower, number 10, Alfred House Gardens, Colombo 3. The list of primary dealers from the Central Bank notes the address for Perpetual Treasuries as number 10, Prince Alfred Tower, Alfred House Gardens, Colombo 3. The business addresses of both companies establishes an obvious connection. The Sunday Times reported yesterday that while it cannot be independently verified, it appears that the company Thurston Investment is also connected to Perpetual. Market data shows that Thurston Investment has purchased more than 6.5 million shares in Central Finance within the third quarter of the year.
The central bank from time to time issues operational guidelines and directions, including certain conditions that the primary dealers should abide by. One such directive is the primary dealers are not permitted to invest in equities or in any securities or in any company or more than 5% of their investment portfolio in the primary dealer business. So if there is a violation of that condition by any primary dealer, it is a matter as a responsibility falling within the purview of the central bank to inquire and investigate and take necessary action.
The companies, including perpetual treasuries, are involved in a money laundering effort at present as they are looking to swiftly squirrel away the profits they earned. The government is directly supporting this. They say they are seeking the advice of the Attorney General and have sent the court report there. Eventually, after perpetual treasuries has funneled the money into other companies, they will tell the people that nothing can be done and that if the money is taken out, those companies will collapse. As the voice against corruption, we condemn this lethargy and the tacit cooperation from the government as the public funds that were stolen are laundered in this way.
Governor of the Central Bank, for your attention.
Amid accusations that the company at the center of the bond controversy is purchasing shares in other companies, the bond issue continued to dominate the political arena today as well.
It has been recorded as evidence. Arjuna Mahendran has said that he commenced the new system on the instructions of the Prime Minister. So the Prime Minister has automatically become a witness for Arjuna Mahendran. We say that this is an incident where the head of state himself should intervene. If a commission is summoned, then it must have punitive powers. I have absolutely no faith in the officials at the Attorney General's department. The President must appoint a special council of jurors. Arjuna Mahendran is the first defendant in this case. So we say to the President that by no means he can be allowed to consult at the Prime Minister's office or be put in charge of the 5-year plan.
5-year plan එක බාර පුද්ගලයා ඔසේ තියාගන්න බෑ. ගූල් හොරාගේ කරේ තිබුණු අලු ප්‍රමාණයට වඩා විශාල සාක්ෂි තොගයක් අගමැතිතුමාට විරුද්ධව තියෙනවා.
We say directly that the Prime Minister is a stakeholder in this theft. We say directly that the Prime Minister received a portion of the bounty. When we say such things, we are accused of insulting the Prime Minister. So the Prime Minister can send us a letter of demand for calling him a thief. When we submit all the evidence we have with us to court, the Prime Minister will eventually have to leave court as an accused. We say this fearlessly.
අගමැතිතුමාට උසාවියෙන් යන්න වෙන්නේ තවත් චූදිතෙක් බවට පත් වෙලා. ඒක ප්‍රබලව කියනවා. අපි නිර්භයව කියනවා.
Continuing in more local news, political analyst Dr. Nimal Ranjit Devasiri says that it will be harmful for the government if it conducts lethargic inquiries into corrupt dealings.
In Sri Lanka and globally, the political business elite class is extremely corrupt. The fact that the Prime Minister of the country is accused of direct involvement in the bond transaction is in the same category as the accusations levelled by Julian Assange against Hillary Clinton. There are several angles we can comprehend here. One angle is the public attention that has been drawn to this and the information that is coming out. Therefore, the information cannot be concealed. In our politics, the primary urge is to conceal information. We know that the accusation that has been levelled against Ranil Wickremesinghe in the bond controversy is serious. But we have seen how much Ranil Wickremesinghe tried to protect Arjuna Mahendran ever since the allegations arose. And when his term was not extended, what did he do? He was appointed to a position close to Wickremesinghe. Ranil Wickremesinghe would do well to remember that this government was not appointed due to any special talent on his part or on the part of his party. He must remember that this government was elected through a movement that stands against the misuse of public funds.
ඊට විරුද්ධව තිබුණු ව්‍යාපාරයක් තුලින් කියන එක අමතක නොකළ යුතුයි.
The Friday Forum has called on the government to ensure that investigations into the central bank bond issue take place without delay. The forum also states that there is a growing awareness that poor governance is becoming entrenched through both governmental action and inaction.
Tackling the issues surrounding the court proceedings and the central bank bond issue, the forum notes that bitterly divisive and intensely adversarial proceedings in court meetings dealing with recent government bond issues, including the conduct of the central bank in the matter, do not inspire public confidence. The media release notes that it is critically important to ensure that investigations take place without delay to hold those responsible accountable, as failure to do so will erode public confidence and create a perception that the government is seeking to protect identified individuals who can claim impunity because of connections to the government. With regard to equality before the law in pending investigations and prosecutions, the Friday Forum calls on the President to give a clear message on respect for the right to equality before the law. The Forum stresses that the President should not give legitimacy to the idea that there is one set of laws for the people and another set for officials, parliamentarians and powerful individuals for whatever reason. Addressing concerns regarding the sale of MPs' duty-free vehicles, the Friday Forum states that the ugly practice which enables them to make profits in millions of rupees must be stopped immediately. The Forum adds that ironically, various justifications are being voiced by MPs at a time when VAT has been increased and other measures are in hand to address a serious national debt crisis. The media release prepared by Professor Savitri Gunasekara and Dr. G. Uswate Arachi on behalf of the Friday Forum concludes by stating that interests of political parties or their individual members or supporters must not be placed above the public interest, and reminds that the President and the government were not elected to further personal, political or other agendas which have nothing to do with voters or the public interest.
With the US presidential elections coming up, we have our now segment, which is the road to the White House, and we are joined by Maina Bonso with the very latest details.
Thank you, Sanduru. Well, yes, in less than 24 hours, Americans at home and abroad will head to the polls to choose the next leader of the free world. With just a day left for the election, the drama continues to unfold as the FBI said it found no evidence of criminality in a new batch of Hillary Clinton emails, boosting her campaign. Now, the FBI's announcement drew criticism from Clinton's rival, Republican nominee Donald Trump, as he accused the FBI of impropriety. Now, we spoke to Newsfirst bureau correspondent Noriana Fernando, who is in New York, to find out the latest on the U.S. presidential elections.
Well, this has been quite the nail-biting election season, but New York is expected to be almost a surefire victory for Hillary Clinton, except, of course, for places like Staten Island, which are Republican strongholds. On the other hand, battleground states like Ohio and Florida, now those are the ones that are going to be deciding the next president of the United States, and that's where the candidates are spending the last few days campaigning. Stay with me as I bring you the latest as Election Day dawns. This is Noriana Fernando reporting from New York for News First.
Well, we now move to Texas, USA, where our bureau correspondent Dilshan Suryarachi filed this report.
We are just 24 hours away from the decisive U.S. presidential election. The polls in Texas suggest the state would lean towards the Republican nominee Donald Trump. Earlier in 2012 as well, the state voted in favor of the GOP. However, the race is tightly contested and Newsfirst is prepared to bring you the latest. I'm Dilshan Suryarachi from Lubbock, Texas. The latest Reuters poll shows Clinton with a 5 percentage point lead over Trump in the national survey, 44% to 39% support, while races in the swing states of Florida and North Carolina have shifted from Clinton's control to being too close to call. The Reuters States of the Nation project estimates that Clinton has a 90% chance of winning the election.
Well, stay with News First as we bring you the latest from the U.S. elections like we have done so many times before. But this race is a close one between the two candidates you see right behind me, Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. Where does the buck stop? Who's going to be the next president of the United States of America? We have our reporters in Colombo working round the clock. We have our correspondents staged in the United States who will be bringing us the ground situation as and when voters go to the polls and results come out. So do log on to our website and also follow us on our social media handles. That's News First on Twitter and on Facebook. With that, we cross over to the main news desk.
Thank you, Maina. And with that, we wrap up primetime news. For the News First team, I'm Sandru Ferdinando.
And I'm Aishwarya Pinto. Good night.